Heidi, hi, Mummas! Are you ready for the fiery session of the day?
Hiya everybody! We are Burnout Mummas.
Hello!
We're in the middle of autumn, aren't we?
Oh my gosh, it's cold in here.
Right, we've got one amazing guest for you today. Her name is Alice. Hi Alice!
Hi darling,
So-
you okay?
Yes, we're all good. How are you?
Yeah, really well, thank you. Really good.
Good. And Alice, you are from Kind Minds Coaching, is that correct?
That's right, I'm a Kind Minds life coaching for kids. So Kind Minds is the name of my business, and what I do is life coach kids for a living, which is amazing. I love
So
it.
do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into it?
Yeah, so I trained as a primary school teacher. I was a primary school teacher for, God, how long was it? 11 years, I think I was. A primary school teacher for, and I worked at lots of different schools, and just put my phone down there because that's annoying. And I went off to have my first daughter, and the pandemic hit, and I didn't want to go back to teaching. I just wanted to spend time with Phoebe, my eldest daughter. Went back after 2 years being off with her, and during that time I started a tutoring business. And instead of, I was being employed basically, I was tutoring probably about 5 to 6 kids a day, which is nuts. Like I think she was 7 months when we went into the pandemic. And I was tutoring 7 kids a day, which was just crazy, all on Zoom. And parents were just, and we all knew it, right? It was just a nuts time, right? So I was employed to teach them English, phonics, maths, science, whatever it may be. But my tutoring business became more of like, I was nurturing them, letting them know that this is okay, that the world around us is nuts at the minute, but everything's going to be all right, and you're still a kid. I was supporting their parents. So I knew at that moment, so that was about 5 years ago, I knew at that moment that I wanted to do more than just teaching. So anyway, fast forward to a couple of years after that, and always my tutoring's always been about nurturing the well-being of a kid, whatever it may be, but obviously the outcome being maths and English. I then went back to work at the school that I was at before I had Phoebe, and I went back in part-time, and I was basically covering classes. I was here, there and everywhere, and then my job role developed into me looking after newly qualified teachers. And the more teachers that I met, it just became apparent to me that they just didn't really understand kids. And this isn't a horrible thing to say about them, because they would admit it as well. You're kind of thrusted into a classroom once you've become a teacher, and it's just like, da-da, off you go. Like, off you go, teach them, look after them, nurture them, engage them, make sure they make progress, and it's just nuts as a teacher. So I went in. During that time of that first year, I just wasn't happy. I wasn't happy there. I was working, coming back to Phoebe, just not wanting to be at work. But I did it and it was fine. I then sadly had 2 miscarriages. In between, I've now got Daisy. She's amazing. She's a year old. But in between Phoebe and Daisy, I had 2 miscarriages. And it just, I mean, so many women go through it, don't they? But it just made me have a moment in my life where I was like, what am I doing? When shit happens to you in your life, it makes you assess stuff, doesn't it? And
does.
Yeah.
I just knew I knew I wasn't happy. So fast forward a few more months, and I fall pregnant with Daisy. Obviously, extremely anxious myself, and unbeknown to me, I was dealing with real bad anxiety. But I'm really into fitness. I'm really into movement, and movement is your medicine. So I'd always do exercise to make myself feel better. But I was extremely anxious, and then fell pregnant with Daisy, and luckily she stayed put and she's here now. But during my pregnancy, I went into my head teacher, and I'd been there, oh God, how long had I worked there for? About 8 years. And I went into her just to talk about my maternity leave, and just to say, I want to work through my maternity leave because I think I had about 4 teachers who I was in charge of. Can I please make sure I can get them through the end of their course so that I'm still helping them? So you do like kit days, don't you? Like keep in touch days as a mum. And she went, I just want to stop you, Alice. how many weeks pregnant are you? And I think at this time I was like 27 weeks pregnant. She was like, to be quite honest, Alice, I've forgotten you were pregnant. I was like, okay, cool. She went, I found out that if I tell you now, I don't have to pay your maternity and you won't have a job to come back to. I just can't afford you. And just said it really blasé. And I was like, this is the universe. Yeah, the universe is telling me I need to leave teaching and I need to do this. It's not serving me right. The woman I'm working for doesn't understand the anxiety I'm going through. I knew I was doing a fab job, even though I wasn't really, really enjoying it. You know, and people were telling me how helpful I was to them. And I just always had the teachers' well-being, their health, their mental health, their physical, everything in my mind. I was just trying to look after people when actually I was really anxious myself. So I left to have Daisy and I had no maternity pay. I had no, obviously I'm married and he kept us going. But I want to work. I don't ever want to just not work. I want to be a mum and work at the same time. So I was, as you do, Exactly. So as you do, at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm sitting there breastfeeding a 1-month-old Daisy. And obviously all my algorithms, because I'd always wanted to do life coaching, my algorithms were obviously sending me stuff. And this bloke popped up on Facebook or Instagram or something, and his name's Dale Hancock, and he's amazing. And he is an secondary school teacher, PE teacher, who got really screwed over by SLT, was bullied by SLT and senior leadership team. So he's set up the Young Warriors life coaching for kids, and he trains teachers to be life coaches. So I thought, right, am I entering a cult? I didn't know whether it was like, is this legit or is this, am I going to enter some kind of cult? So I watched a video and I was like, this resonates with me so much. Like, it's just, I want to make a difference. I want to make a change to these kids' lives. I want to make a positive impact. So I just jumped on a call with him and I've never looked back. I trained to be a life coach and did it whilst having Daisy attached to my booth for majority of the day. And then when she got to about 8 months old, I'd finished and qualified. So I just thought, right, I'm going to set up my business. And you basically train with Dale. He's like my life coach and my support network. There's a big network of all of us. But you just go off and you he gives you all your tools you need, and then you go and create your own business. So I did it and never looked back. And I'm really busy. Sadly, I'm really busy because there's so many kids that have anxiety that need me. But it's incredible. So it's really fulfilling. So yeah, that's how I managed to create my business.
It's so interesting, isn't it?
Do you know what is funny as well? Because we were interviewing Kaya the other week, and we was like, how did you get onto that path? And I always think, I do a lot of spiritual work and energy stuff, as my side hustle. I love all that stuff. Obviously, I teach your daughter dance as well, don't I? So we know each other through there, but I always are very aware of life paths. Things happen for a reason, and will take us on that next journey. But at that time, you don't realise it's not till after, and you're like, well, that's why that happened. That was something telling me that your gut instinct as well. You didn't feel happy. Something had just left you, and there was something waiting
pushing
for
you towards something better. And there's a lot of life coaches for adults, but none for children.
There is none for children.
No.
And I've actually.
So I always
do, Alice. Use them.
Yeah, well, that's what I knew when I had just had Daisy. I met up with some of my friends, came round and met Daisy, and they were like, "So what are you going to do?" Because everyone had the same reaction as you. I can't believe your head teacher did that to you. I can't believe that happened. What are you going to do? And I was just grateful for it. Weirdly, I was like, no, I'm pleased. I've kind of been like, can't afford you, see you later, and I don't really care, and we're not going to pay you. I was like, I'm going to create something from such an awful situation, and it is going to make me be the best that I can be, because it's just going to have to work, because I'm not going to have a fallback. I'm not going back to teaching. I'm not doing that. But and I always thought I was going to have to do life coaching for adults. And I do that as part of my business. I coach the parents as well as the kids. But if you can get kids to understand their emotions and understand how to regulate themselves, and from a very young age, I mean, my youngest client is 4, and my eldest client is like 46. So it's, you know, huge range. But if you can get them that young and get them to understand what's going on in your body, how to regulate yourself, how to communicate it, then you're winning, right? You've just got to get them as young as possible. So I'm so pleased that I was scrolling. No, we do at school, they do mindfulness, but generally it is where can we fit it in our curriculum? Whereas most schools should be doing it as like it's. Some schools do it, but most of the schools that I've been in, they just do it. Oh, we're going to have a bit of PSHE or a bit of circle time. Let's talk about our feelings, but you don't really know what you're doing. So I then go in and sorry.
Yeah, and in this day and age, everything is so different. Everything is like, there's a lot of social media now that has such a big impact on children. Like, we are seeing a massive difference in children due to like iPads, social media, television, and you know, they're seeing other people's emotions, but they're not checking in with their own. And I think I think every child should have like your kind of sessions, because I think it's amazing. Like, I've seen the work you do on Instagram and Facebook, and I think what you do, and you've even worked with some of the dancers that I know, and you're phenomenal at what you do, bringing them out of their shell. Can you tell us a bit about like how you do it, and like how like children's minds work, if they're, you know, they're obviously in a different mindset to how we are. Well, we've got wisdom and we've had experience, we've had trauma, we've dealt with it, but for a child they don't know how to deal with that. So can you let us know, like tell us like how you, what you see and how you deal with it?
Yeah, sure. So a kid's brain is not developed, and as parents we forget that. I forget it. I've got a 5-year-old and a 1-year-old, and I'm sure you two have as well. So silly little tasks of just eat your peas on your plate, or come and put your socks on, let's go, or brush your teeth. To us, you know, that's a really simple example, but to us it's just like, it's a simple task, crack on, let's go, we're getting out the house, we're late for school or clubs or whatever. Now for kids, they don't understand that they're making you frustrated. They don't have that empathy. They're not born with empathy. They're not born with all these emotions. It's all learnt behaviours, right? So their brain is undeveloped. They don't get it. So you've got to talk them through it. You've got to be consistent, and you've got to be understanding of what they're feeling at that time and validate everything that they're feeling. Now that doesn't mean to say, oh, don't eat your peas then, that's fine, don't put your shoes on, don't worry about brushing your teeth, and, you know, gentle parenting. You know, I believe in gentle parenting, but I also believe in being assertive and firm and let's get the job done. So when I am spoken to by a parent and they say to me something like, you know, my child is amazing and they're so loving and they're so kind and they're so empathetic of others, but then when they come home to me from school, and this is the parent talking, when they come home to me from school and I ask them to just jump in the bath, they just fly off the handle. Now there's so many children that are masking their behaviours and their emotions at school because they're just trying to just fit in, and they're just trying to be that passive learner in school. Keep your head down and just crack on so that nobody asks me a question or goes against what I might believe. So if they're masking it at school and they've held it together, they're going to come home and they're going to have to explode. So what I do, I'm not going to have to explode, but that's generally what happens, right? And I'm sure we've all seen that as parents. I know Phoebe she's just a little sweetheart. She's so confident. She loves dancing. She loves sport, goes out, but she's so emotional. And I have a life coach for her, even though I'm a life coach myself. But she's so emotional to me, can just fly off the handle. And since being a life coach, I just know that I have to break stuff down. You have to say, I understand. So for example, if I had, let's use my daughter as an example, and I've asked her to get in the bath and she really doesn't want to, you've just got to take it. And it'll take like 10 seconds. I understand that you really don't want to get in the bath, and I understand that this is frustrating. I feel that too. I get it. But you join them in their emotion, you join them in how they're feeling. Let's go and do this, and then we can do something else. So you replace what they don't want to do with something else. So you say, all right, we're going to go and have a bath. I get it that you're frustrated. Let's take a breath. Breathing, to kids, they don't get it at the beginning, but you teach them breathing techniques and how to regulate and calm themselves. And then you go and do what you need to do, and then you come back and you revisit it and you say, you know, earlier on when you really didn't want to go in the bath and you were frustrated, that's a really horrible emotion, isn't it? But you did it, so thank you. And it's just all about, I teach parents about how to communicate with their kids without, you know, you've got to check yourself as a parent before you go into these situations, because God, I've been there so many times. It's just like, ugh. So it's
even saying that,
yeah,
we're like,
I
me
was
and
just
Paisley
thinking.
have a podcast, and we're like, and even this morning, Alice, I was like to my little one, I was like, right, put your leggings on and your t-shirt and your jumper. I don't want to wear leggings.
Yeah.
I was like, well, what do you want to wear then? Do you want to wear a skirt? And she went, I don't want to wear a skirt. I was like, right. And then I was like, right, I'm going to have to go then without you. If you're not ready by this time, this is probably like the worst parenting at this point from your point.
No, gosh, no.
You'll have to stay here, because if you're not ready, I'm going and you're staying here.
I always say that. I'm going, right, I'm opening the door. Have you got your shoes on? Right, I'm going to go.
Yeah.
And then they just like do. But yeah, we had a meltdown about leggings. So can you advise on, because this happens every morning.
Yeah.
So, I don't want to wear that. I don't want to wear that. And I'm like, oh my God, right, we've got 5 minutes to get ready. Just go along. So yeah, can you advise on a good bullet point for me?
Yeah.
And
morning routine.
for morning routine, because
leave them in the house, lock the doors, and off you go. No, I'm joking.
Love it.
Go get a wine or a cocktail
In the morning.
Yeah,
Your baby's healthy. That's coming up.
Take them out naked, take them out in their pants. No, so generally, so I would, if you were my client, I would be saying to you, right, if this is a big issue in your house, is there something about the leggings that she doesn't like? So is it a sensory issue? So say you're saying, I'm guessing it's a knot, if she just doesn't want to put her leggings on, right? She just doesn't want to go.
Yeah.
What
or
you never want to
flares.
say to a child, go on Isla, sorry, I jumped in then.
Oh, sorry. It's either some days she wants to wear flares, then some leggings, and it's all about who else in the nursery is going to wear what, and it's like, oh, I can't deal with it. She's only 4.
How old? Yeah, 4 years old. I love that. Oh, it started. So you never ever want to say to kids when they're in that height, I don't want leggings. I don't want a dress. I don't want to. You never want to go, why? Why not? Because if you're asking them why, you're adding to the frustration. You're adding to the stress. So you just want to be silent. Silence, the power of silence is really quite empowering to us as parents, and we don't use it as much. So if you had 5 minutes to get out of the house and she won't put her leggings on, you just go put your shoes on, you go get yourself all ready, and you have the leggings in your hand, and you say, after she's calmed herself, she'd probably cry, but a crying child, I don't know if she was crying or kicking or screaming, whatever, they're trying to regulate themselves. They're trying to calm themselves down. The only way they know, they're born with happiness and fear. They know what they're scared of, and they know what makes them happy. And we teach them what love is. We teach them all the other feelings of, you know, the world around us, and we give them those experiences to give them all those other emotions. So they know that in that moment, they really aren't happy. And they just don't want to go. So they're trying to regulate themselves by crying and having some kind of outlet. So let them do it. But that is easier said than done when you need to go to work, you're ready to go, and she's kicking and screaming. But the next time she does that, just don't say a thing. You've given your instruction, leggings on, and minimal vocab. So leggings on, top on, shoes, we go. So there's 4 steps. Leggings on, top on, shoes, we go. And I've done that today. I've done that with Phoebe. So the less vocab, the less words that you're using, because you probably went, like you said, well, what do you want? Do you want a skirt on? Do you want this? Do you want? And she's like, I don't want no. Yeah, and you're just adding to it. You're just like adding. Yeah, you're adding fuel to the fire. So you just say, leggings, top, jumper, go, or leggings, whatever it is, and then
I'm gonna do it now.
She'll just be like, oh, okay. Because you've got to get to the point. Yeah.
I've got and it's
And then,
so different. When I teach a class with kids, I'm like, right, this is what we're doing, and I am really assertive. I'm like, this is what we're doing, and like, you know. But when it's your own child, it's so different. It's so mad.
yeah. Well,
Oh my
I
God.
was like I was in charge in my last job. I was in charge of behaviour management, and I'd have to go and show teachers how to teach kids. You know, like if there were kids who were behaving in a certain way, were disrupting the class, I would go in and model how to do it. And then when I had Phoebe, I was like, it's gonna be fine, absolutely fine. I'm so good at behaviour management. Yeah, I'm not. With your child, because, and I say this to my clients, you're white noise to your kids. So
Yeah,
you could be
true.
doing all of the right parenting. You could be being gentle, you could be understanding, you could be assertive, absolutely everything, but they just don't want to listen to you. So that's why someone like me, and that's why I have a life coach for Phoebe, is because I am white noise to her, because all they want is they want you to feed them, cuddle them, sometimes keep them clean, sometimes not, because they don't want to go in the bath. But they just want cuddles, they want kisses, they want fun with you. They don't want to be having all of that other nonsense that they really do need to know. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, so having a life coach is very important. You want the, so that comes in like friends and like you guys, sisters.
Yeah, we have. You've got a sister as well who does like similar stuff, and yeah, so it's funny, isn't it? With sisters, it's really nice. We've all like attracted each other. But no, I've had a few like mums come to me, and they're like pulling their hair out, even with teenagers. They're like, I do not know what to do. They're like really rebelling at school. Like they're not like behaving how I used to behave at school, and like they're like, how do I deal with this? And because when it is like something new, like obviously, you know, you can deal with other people's children, but when it's your own, it is like, it's really hard. And I'm like, well, I can't really advise because I've not got a teenager yet. But yeah, I feel, but then again, you have got that added thing of the social media, haven't you, Alice?
Yes, lots more added in.
You have, and it's for kids, I think, and it was definitely for me growing up. Like, I come from the most amazing family. Like, I've got a twin sister, I've got an older brother, and I've got an older sister, and my mum and dad are just great. Like, we're just all really tight, really like supportive of one another. We've always been sporty. Us girls have always danced, and just, you know, it's just been great. However, when I was growing up, and I'm a twin, so it's kind of different, but I don't know any other way. I really struggled to figure out who I was, but I always came across as this confident, like I loved singing, I was in all the shows, I loved dancing, chose to do that for sixth form and went to a different sixth form to my sister, and I left her, I went to school with her, and we were always parallel, me and my twin, and we always were in the same thing, like academically we were on the same wavelength. And then I went off to sixth form, to a different sixth form, and she stayed with our group of friends at the school that we were at. And I just lost it. I just didn't know who I was. Sadly, I had an eating disorder for 2 years because I was attracting the wrong people. Like, I wasn't a wrong un, like I was never naughty. I didn't get myself into a spiral of awfulness, but I just knew in my heart of hearts that I wasn't being my true self. And yet I came from the most amazing family who knew that I was being a certain way, but I was abrupt. I was being this, I'd dress in things that I never really, that I didn't really want to wear, but I wore because other people were wearing it. You know, and even you saying about your daughter going into nursery, and are they going to be wearing clothes? It starts then. So you're trying to find your identity by others, and I know we're all like, you know, we're meant to be in packs and we're meant to have these support networks and friendships and stuff, but I just wish that I had someone that could have guided me other than my mum and dad, because they were great, my mum and dad, but I didn't want to listen to them. I felt like they didn't understand me as a teenager. I don't know, what were you guys like?
The same actually. I went through the same actually. I went through an eating disorder. I think it was like I had it in my 20s, obviously but also the impact of the dancing, and I had actually a bit of a breakdown, And yeah, I actually lost everything before I set up Mummas. Like I was working somewhere and I had to hit complete rock bottom. Like and the eating disorder, and I had a breakdown. I had a bottle. I was in a nightclub and a bottle went on my head, and I had like really, really bad panic attacks. Like, so I kind of, and obviously I worked within dancing, but I started to set up my own things like on the sideline. But I moved into a flat, and I literally lost my job, everything, and it was the thing that was like, oh, Isla, you need to just. I had people who were not my family that really helped me out, like family, friends, and they really helped me out because I couldn't afford the bills, anything. So I was like, oh my God, don't have a job. Like, I've just moved into the flat. I was like, what am I going to do? And I had loads of like family friends that helped me out at that time. But yeah, like, we're not guided, and I wish I was guided at a younger age because I feel like adults now, we all lose ourselves at one point in our life. Like, we all forget who we are, why we're here, what's our true purpose. And that is a massive question, isn't it?
That is part of the journey as well. It's finding
who you are, what's your path.
Yeah, you have to experience some of those bad things to realise, is it for me, is it not? Whereas I think now, we were out drinking, that was from the age of 14, it was like drinking, clubbing. You know, we didn't even look at our parents for advice. It was just like, we're going to do what we want to do. Whereas I think the generation now, even though they've got social media, they're very much secluded in a way because it's a very different culture, isn't it? I don't know what they do. What do teenagers do?
They're at home most of the time.
Well, they're into a lot of them are into fitness, which is great.
Yeah.
Like, they love a bit of fitness and they love going to and that culture is great. And Paisley, I understand what you're saying. I get it, that it's, you know, we used to go out and do that and not listen to our parents, and it's all a bit like, you're a bit segregated now, aren't you, when you're on social media? But it's quite damaging because it never leaves you. So if you think about you and me, like in our generation, you'd go to school, you might have a little bit of a tiff with a teacher or a tiff with a friend, or you've gone to dance class and you thought, oh, so-and-so made fun of my high kick and she thought I wasn't, you know, you'd have like a silly little thing that was really massive and major to you, and then that would be it. And that if they wanted to say something else to you, they'd have to say it to your face, or they'd have to call your house phone. Now it's straight on the phone, Snapchat, whatever it may be, and it just never leaves you. So I coach a kid who's in, and it's really damaging because it's constant. Like, you go to bed thinking about it. You think about it in your subconscious when you're asleep. Oh, it's awful. But I coach a kid. What year? She's year 6 now, and she's having such issues with her friends because it's just never ending. And she's so sweet, but it's affecting everything. It's affecting how she treats her friends, her other friends. It affects her family, how she's talking to her mum and her dad. Like, she's just so angry. And I'm saying to her, you're angry because this is not stop. You've got to let go of some of these connections. Like, they're not, these friends aren't serving you well. And I talk about people serving you and what's serving you in your life quite a lot with my clients, because if your friends aren't serving you well, then they're not, you don't need to have them. They can be in your life, but they don't need to be in as much as they are. Like, you don't need to use them as an influence. Because, and if I'd had somebody say that to me when I was 16, I wouldn't have gone through, and you're right, Paisley, like, you do have to go through stuff to make you who you are. But I really don't think that I figured out who I was, what I wanted to be, who I wanted to attract, until I became pregnant and became a mum. Because I just, do you? Because you then have this kid, don't you, who you're like, okay, I need to be the best version of myself so that I can bring this child up. But and it's quite empowering, isn't it? Because your priorities are all put into place, and you think, oh, okay.
I feel a lot calmer since I've had children, and a lot more confident within myself, like you said. But then after they've got to a certain age, you sort of then become who you want to be anyway, with your soul and working. And I mean, you still got your passion there apart from being a mum. I think every school should have an Alice, because I mean, I was badly bullied at school anyway. in the first couple of years, but I had to toughen up. So that sort of got me over it. And some of those people became some of my closest friends. But now it's so easy to sort of cut people off or hide behind closed doors that I think a lot of issues don't get resolved. And it can become quite isolating, whereas I speak to so many people where they say there's so much bullying going on at the school. Like somebody that, if you were to be employed to talk to them, I think it would resolve a lot of issues.
Yeah, I mean, schools do have counsellors going in, and they do have like play therapists and, you know, different therapists going in, but it's budget. They don't have the money, and it's not consistent. So it's, you need someone like a life coach going in, like forward thinking. Like, I'm not a therapist, I'm not an educational psychologist, I'm not that. But what I am is I know where you might want to be and what you want to do, so let's get you there. That's what life coaching is.
I think
so that's what you want to be. Let's go on.
Sorry, I think it's the internet connection. I had a life coach when I was it 25 or 30, and I was like, what is a life coach? So if you can explain to our audience what you consider a life coach to be for children, I think a lot of people would like to understand that as well.
Yeah, so life coaching is forward thinking, right? So figuring out what it is that's holding you back, where you want to be, and setting those goals and creating those steps to get your goal, basically. So you may have had a trauma, or you may have had something happen in the past. We can't change that, but what we can do is we can change and make our own pathways. So I do loads of, do you know about NLP and timeline therapy?
Yeah.
You know about that? Yeah. So I do that I touch on that in my sessions. So I do loads of visualization stories. So I base my life coaching sessions, and they're generally about an hour's long, and there's mind tasks and body tasks. So I get them moving. So I just did a session last night at Air Jump in Orpington. It was fab. Like, it was a big celebration of, she'd finished her 6-week program, but as she's jumping, we're chatting, and then we sit down and do some mind tasks, and then I set her some more tasks running around and whatever it may be. So it's getting the mind and body connection, getting a kid to understand that, and knowing that if you get moving, you have all these lovely feelings of dopamine coming out of you, and you feel great. So, you know, that's good for you. So that's getting them to know that they need to exercise and move. But their session, I then do visualization. So if it was a child who, I don't know, has separation anxiety and is like a school refuser, I get them to visualize what anxiety looks like for them, what it feels like. Can we give it a shape? Can we give it a color? And then I get them in this visualization to imagine it moving around their body, so their mind can change the shape of that anxiety. And then we talk about, and it goes on, and it's brilliant, and it makes you want to fall asleep. I've had quite a few clients actually fall asleep on me, which is quite nice. Come on, wakey. But saying to him, like, how powerful is your mind? Like, I didn't tell you that you were going to have to do that. You did that. You managed to change the feeling. You managed to change how it moved around your body. So if you can do that with me now, and me saying, make it move around your body, tell me how it's moving. I didn't tell you how I wanted it to move. You told me how it's going to move. If you can do that, you can control it going into school. So move it. So I'm even working with a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
Sorry?
I said, we're never taught that at school, are we? So with you explaining it to them, it's changed their whole situation of that separation anxiety.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not, like, it is phenomenal, but it's not rocket science. So if I was, like, I just need to go, I want to teach teachers and parents that it's not as hard as you think. But when you're in those moments of, I've got a kid at home who won't do this certain thing over and over again, and you're exhausted as a parent, and you say, and I have so many parents say to me, I have tried everything and they're not doing it. And my response is, you haven't tried everything because you've not had a life coach for kids. So this will help, and it will help your whole family setting, because it's all about practical help. It's about me coming into your setting and me saying to you, right, this needs to change here. This bedtime maybe needs to change, or the way you're talking to each other needs to change. So we need to set up a new set of rules for your family. And parents are just like, oh, okay, great, brilliant. It's
God,
fulfilling. I'm very lucky that I get to do this job. It's great.
Hey, we are burnt out mummies, getting ready for the Christmas season.
Are you looking for the best Christmas present ever, or something for your partner to buy you that you are just so stuck on? If you have everything in the world, how about you come along to our first ever retreat for burnt out mummas?
This is going to be so cool. It's on the 26th of Jan. It is something that is going to be so special for you mummas. We have arranged such a cool thing, haven't we, Paisley?
The most fantastic lineup that you've not had before, and what makes us feel alive. And it's going to make you start the new year off, 2025, with a bang. What have we got, Isla?
We've got vision boards.
Woohoo!
This is one thing that I do every year, a vision board in January. It sets your intentions and goals for the year and years to come, which is really powerful.
The perfect burnt out mummas mood board. And to top it off, in the background, we're going to be listening to
my favourite thing of all time as saxophonist.
Woohoo! Ibiza style.
Ibiza style.
Well, January.
I know, in January. So to pick up the moods of when you're feeling really low in Jan after like Christmas celebrations, we've got a saxophonist coming to play Ibiza specials. So that is going to be insane, isn't it?
The rest is going to be top secret. It's going to be a 2-hour event. It's going to be local to Kent and Surrey. It's going to be held in Tatsfield Village Hall. We're going to put all the details on all of our posts, and we're taking bookings as of today. So we have limited spaces. If you want to come along and experience our first Burnt Out Mummas event to make you feel great for the year ahead, then please go ahead and book with us.
Woo! Join the Burnt Out Mummas community.
See you soon.
Have a nice Christmas.